Continuing this series of soft hackle flies that I'm doing, this is the Black Midge. It is a very, very simple basic pattern similar to the partridge in yellow that I did last week. It is a floss body with a floss rib and just a black hackle. It's a great little fly for any fly box, especially in the early season. But this is another fly that I'm tying for the tie-a-thon coming up in May. I posted a video last week that explained a little bit more about the tie-a-thon, but you can also follow the link in the description down below to some information about the tie-a-thon, as well as a post on this fly, which will also have some more information about that if you're wanting to get involved with that. So this is another soft hackle, just a nice little black midge, and we'll go ahead and get started. Start the black midge by putting our hook in the vise. This is a Mustad 3906 standard nymph hook. You could also use a 3399, or if you want a little bit longer body, you could use a 3906B if you like. Go ahead and debarb the hook. For thread, I'm just using a black Uni 8/0 for this, and since it's such a simple fly, it's just a floss body and a collared hackle. There's really not much to doing this fly. I'll attach my thread right behind the eye of the hook, run my thread down to the end of the shank, which is going to be right about between the point of the hook and the point of the barb. I'm going to tie in 2 strands of floss. I'm using a black Uni-Floss for this because when this is peeled off, it is actually just one single strand, and I can cut 2 of these out as opposed to the rayon floss. Plus, I find that this floss twists up better than, say, the 4-strand rayon floss. But I'm going to get 2 strands, bring it up under the thread, up on top of the hook shank, anchor it there, and put in a few wraps moving forward. Once that's secured, I'll trim away the excess here. I want to trim that the length of the body. It'll give me a nice little underbody for the fly. And with touching turns, I'll advance forward the end of the body to tie in the floss. Taking 1 strand of floss, I'll start palmering this around. If you find, like it is here, where you've got some that are spreading out a little bit, what you need to do is stroke the fibers out towards you under some tension to even them all up so they're all under the same tension in the same direction. When you do that, you'll find that you won't get the fibers splitting off when you're wrapping this in for the body. So I'm just going to palmer this forward up to my thread. Occasionally you get some fibers that have broken. And that's fine. We'll just trim those out. Anchor that in right behind the eye of the hook, the end of the body, and then we can trim out some of these fibers that have broken away. The more you handle this at this time of year with dry hands and everything, a lot of times you'll kind of shred some of those fibers a little bit, so you do want to be a little careful. Moving my thread back just a little bit, I'm going to take the other strand. And this I want to twist up. I have found this works better if I twist this up in a counterclockwise motion, like this, and then start to wrap it in. I get a nice corded look on it, but I have to, every time I come around, I have to give it a little bit more twist. Wet your fingers just to give you a little traction, and you end up with a nice, round, pronounced rib on this. If I twist it the other direction, clockwise, it tends to flatten out as you wrap it around. So bring that around, get 5 wraps in, 4 to 5, depends on the hook. This is size 14, I'm lucky if I can get 5 wraps. It's generally 4. Trim away the excess. Clean that up a little, bring my thread back about an eye length behind the eye, and then we'll tie in our hackle. Hackle for this is just a black hen hackle. Just a nice soft hackle. You're going to pick one out where the longest fibers, which are generally around the middle of this, are going to be somewhere around the length of the shank of the hook. Maybe a little bit longer. They can go a little past the barb if you want, but generally they're just inside the gap of the hook. Peel away the excess that you don't need and the fluff. That leaves us with a nice little feather we can tie in by the tip. Take your small hackle pliers and just grab the tip of this. One thing to note is that all of these fibers right here, I may not want all of those in the collar. It may make the collar too thick. I want it sparser. I just want a few fibers for legs. In that case, take your hackle pliers and go further into the into the feather, so that you're only separating out just a few of them, and you'll have a more sparse collar. I like to just trim away the tip. Gives me a nice little handle to tie in here. Get 2 or 3, 4 wraps as you go towards the eye to secure that. Take our hackle pliers. Stroking the fibers rearward. Start palmering that around. Once we get all that wrapped in, secure the stem with our thread. Now I'll stroke the stem back with all the fibers so that I can start to create the head of the fly right behind the eye of the hook. I got one little stubborn fiber right down here on the underside I think I'm going to have to cut out. I'm just going to wrap that back. Just a few wraps. And I'll do about a 3-turn whip finish. I can trim away my thread. Take the stem of the hackle, and I can just pop that off. And there is my collar for my Black Midge. A little bit of head cement. This is some Fly Tight head cement. It's a thinner head cement, soaks right down into the base of those hackle fibers, as well as the threads for the head of the fly. And there you have it. There is the soft hackle Black Midge. So this is a good fly in the early season. Black patterns always do well. There's always a place in your box for all black patterns. But in the springtime, a lot of times you've got rain and runoff. Streams are running a bit cloudy, kind of muddy. You want to use dark patterns and dark water. So if you're wanting to fish some soft hackles and drift some small flies, Black Midge is a real good choice. Thanks for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned at least a new pattern, if not a new technique, maybe a tip or trick here and there. If you have any questions about this fly or any of the techniques used in constructing this pattern, please leave them in the comments section down below. If you go to the trouble to ask a question, I'll go to the trouble to answer it. If you'd like to help dressed irons, please share this video with your friends and anybody you think that might enjoy this pattern. Until next time, remember, it's fly tying. If you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.